Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Turning Pages, the podcast that celebrates African literature. My name is Vuvu Vena. Today we are visiting Nigeria in a review of Oyinkan Braithwaite's debut novel, My Sister, the Serial Killer. We are of a folklore heritage. We were conceived in the womb of beautiful words, birthed into a captivating world that we've spent eternity trying to name, tell, retell and paint. Wrapped and cradled in stories, intsomi namabali. Our words create worlds. They transport, they mirror, they convict, they give lashings and hugs. They create and can never be undone. To hide between the pages of a book is to find pieces of yourself before you even were. Welcome to Turning Pages, the podcast that celebrates African literature from the continent and the diaspora. I'm your host, Vuvu Vena. About a year ago, I had started seeing Oyinkan Braithwaite's book doing the rounds on social media, and the little I allowed myself to see was all positive, which got me curious about the book. And let's be honest, the cover was also some type of spell. A graduate of creative writing and law from Kingston University, the Nigerian author has spent assistant editor at a national publishing house, freelance writing and graphic designing as careers with some short stories, anthologies and self-published works in between. Her talent saw her shortlisted as a top 10 spoken word artist in the Eco Poetry Slam in 2014, shortlisted for the Commonwealth Short Story Prize in 2016, and winning multiple awards for My Sister, the Serial Killer in 2019. Some of these include the LA Times Award for Best Crime Thriller and the 2019 Amazon Publishing Readers Award for Best Debut Novel. The book, first published in the US in 2018 by Doubleday Books, a division of Penguin Random House, received a number of shortlists last year and this year, the most mentionable being the Women's Prize for Fiction 2019. My Sister, the Serial Killer was also longlisted in two notable awards, the Booker Prize 2019 and the 2020 Dublin Literary Award. It has gone on to be translated into 30 languages and has been optioned to film. Oyinkan lives in Lagos, Nigeria. The following review first appeared on my YouTube channel, Vuvu Vena Reads. Ayula summons me with these words. Korede, I killed him. I had hoped I would never hear those words again. Today I'm reviewing Oyinkan Braithwaite's debut novel called My Sister, the Serial Killer. Let's chat about the beginning. The beginning is quite grasping, it is engaging, it is captivating. You want to know who the sister is that keeps getting away with murder, literally getting away with murder. In that opening chapter, which was all the words that I read, was an entire chapter, you get the sense that this is going to be an intriguing story, and the fact that this is not the first murder that this woman has committed is in essence the story. And the thing with beginnings is that they have to grab you from the start, and I think Oyinkan did very well with making sure that people read past page number 1. So the story follows two sisters, an older sister called Korede, who is always rescuing her younger sister Ayula, who happens to be everybody's apple, or the apple of everybody's eye, because she is so gorgeous. She is the kind of gorgeous that leaves you stupid. It leaves a lot of men stupid and a lot of men dead. And we start the story off after Ayula has killed her third victim, and Korede has been called to clean up the mess. As the older sister, this is the role that she has always found herself playing. She's always been taking care of Ayula, and she's always been covering up for her since time immemorial. And this time around, the day that Ayula calls her is no different. What transpires then in the story is a telling of how beauty has become privilege for Ayula, and how Korede has lived in her shadow just because she was not born as beautiful or as fair-skinned, and she has not had the attention of either her parents or men while growing up. Her dad is dead by the time that we are introduced to these characters, and it seems like besides just being a disciplinarian, the father was quite abusive, which I think Oyinkan is trying to show, to justify or trying to give us a snippet into the lives of these women and why they turned out to be the way that they are. we find out a lot about the murder weapon that Ayula uses to kill these men and its association to the family. We get to know just how many times, recognized and not, that Korede, sorry, this name is hard for me, Korede has been protecting her younger sister. Korede has a love interest that seems to be interested in Korede until he sees Ayula. And this is, I guess, the conflict of the story. Besides the fact that there's conflict between the relationship among the sisters, there's also conflicts because suddenly Korede's love interest is now taken by Ayula and totally forgets about Korede. What transpires from there is Korede trying subtly to warn her love interest about the kind of person her sister is, and also, I guess, in the background praying that her sister does not kill the man that she loves. It is a very interesting story. I think it is a well done story by Oyinkan for her debut novel. It is a different story of Nigeria because most of the time when you engage with Nigerian stories, they either have to do with politics or they have to do with the cultural differences in that country. Here she has just placed two women and done something that I think is different in the crime genre. I've never myself read a lot of crime to say for sure what I'm saying is correct. However, it's the first book that I've ever read that puts the antagonist and the protagonist as women and has crimes committed against men instead of women. So it automatically jars you, because what we know from society and what we know from a lot of crime thrillers is that the vulnerable groups are usually female, and they are the ones that are usually targeted by psychopaths or murderers or whatever you want to call them. However, in her story, Oyinkan has twisted that plot and made it such that it's the women that hold the power and they have the capacity to harm men as much as men harm women in society. And I think that is one thing that has set it apart. This book was shortlisted for the Women's Prize last year, Women's Prize in Literature, sorry, last year. And I would say that Oyinkan deals with her characters in a very, I can't say delicate, it's almost as though she is tittle-tailing on them. I don't know if you understand. It's almost as though through Korede, the main point of view, or the only point of view, she is tittle-tailing on these characters. So all their flaws as well as their good points, I give credit to Korede's character, come out. However, it is the darkness in these characters that is most exposed, which is why I'm saying it's almost as though it's a tittle-tale that's going on. And I think that she frames each character's darkness so well, so very well, and she uses her walk-in characters. Those are the characters that don't have much bearing in the actual story but exist around the main characters. She uses them so well to reveal the characters of these main people whose lives we're watching, and she also allows them to help move the story forward. There is a third or fourth character, because the main characters in the story are the father, are the two sisters, the mother, the love interest, as well as a sixth character then, who is a patient who's been in a coma at the hospital for the longest time, in whom Korede finds solace and makes possibly what could be her biggest mistake. And throughout the book, we are then watching and holding our breaths to see when Ayula will think it right to murder Korede's love interest. And we watch Korede trying as hard as she can to not allow this fourth murder to occur. There are more than 3 deaths in the story. You will discover that when you read the story. However, the murders in the story only amount to 3. So how the book ends is quite interesting. I will not read the ending for you. However, how the book ends is also somewhat of a cliffhanger. We are, by the end of this book, hoping that Ayula's character does change. We're really hoping that Gorode also snips the umbilical cord, or so-called umbilical cord, that she feels that she has to be the guardian in Ayula's life. We have hope that Gorode might, that hope seems somewhat shattered at some point, but might find a love of her own. And we have learned so much about the family dynamics in this family, that the book centers around, that we can only hope that they find some form of peace. And the book did a good job also of showing tittle-tatting on men. That's what the book did. It told on men in a patriarchal society, how they think, how they perceive beauty, and how they perceive love. And I think those are the themes that Oyinkan explored very, very, very well. That love, beauty, and patriarchy inform so much around how men treat women, if I could put it in that sense. And women being girls and women, like from a very young age up until adulthood. And at its core, though, I think it is a story of an unseen woman, a woman who by all counts and means is better than her beautiful counterpart, but fails to be recognized because she does not look a certain part. I think that this was a well-deserved shortlist, and I truly enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. If you've read this book at all, please do engage me in the comment section about what you really enjoyed and what you think of this review. That's all for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please don't forget to rate and review this podcast. Any engagement on any of my platforms means a lot to me. And until next time, remember, every page turned is something learned. Keep turning pages. I'd love to hear your thoughts about today's episode, so why not search for me on social media? On Instagram, I'm Vuvu_Vena_reads. On Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, I'm VuvuVenaReads. And you can also find me on my website, which is www.vuvuvenareads.com. And until next week, I really do love you guys. Bye now.